Let's go ahead and bring in Josh Cozart. Josh, the images down there are just stunning.
Really kind of devastating to say the least of how widespread this is. You got to keep in mind right now a lot of these fires are burning almost the size of Manhattan, just to give you a bit of a perspective. And of course, this is a densely populated area. So if you are familiar with the Los Angeles area, just a bit of a preview of exactly where some of the largest fires are. Again, these are surrounding the Los Angeles area, and it was the Hollywood Hills Sunset Fire that really got underway last night and was the closest to at least downtown Los Angeles. As our current winds right now are still primarily out of the north to northeast. That means that those are the Santa Ana winds, considerably calmer compared to where they were just a few days ago. But you can see the fires burning so hot from outer space. Our GOES 18 satellite picking up the soft glow of those fires on the surface as smoke continues to pollute the skies of not only Los Angeles, but much of the Pacific Ocean. That's where our current air quality has fallen back to the unhealthy category in many cases and will likely continue to be reduced as these fires continue to burn. So as far as the forecast goes, we are still holding on to the potential for those low relative humidity values to spread the fires rapidly along with those gusty winds. And with directional changes, that could potentially push those fires in unpredictable locations. So a red flag warning, it does remain in effect now all the way through Friday at 6 p.m. That's where we could see gusts upwards of 50 to 75 miles per hour. Now closer to the Portland area and much of the state of Oregon, our drought situation has improved. So when we are talking about these extreme fires down in Southern California, it really makes us think, how can we prepare here in Oregon? And some of the most impactful images coming from the Pacific Coast Highway as people evacuated burning neighborhoods were forced to abandon their cars. And the bulldozers had to move the cars out of the way. The state of Oregon climatologist Larry O'Neill says that's exactly the kind of problem large cities in Oregon need to be ready to contend with should wildfires strike in heavily populated areas.
It's really getting the importance of the message. If you have a very fast fire coming into an area, is really getting that information to people as quickly as possible, to leave as quickly as possible. That's one aspect of it. The other is basically also having routes for evacuation that you can, that people aren't just jammed up in.
O'Neill says he'll be focused on three things this upcoming wildfire season in Oregon. First is the high elevation snowpack, which is already very good. It not only keeps the landscape moist from May to June, but also slows the drying out of vegetation.
Reducing that vegetation growth gives less fuel to the fire later in the summer.
Second is not just a wet spring, but the amount of rain in May and early June. And finally, avoiding early heat waves.
Those early season heat waves basically dry out the landscape too early. And that actually, I think, is one of the most important indicators for wildfire risk is whether we get these early season heat waves or not.
And while Southern California dealt with those heavy winds, the U.S. drought report out today also shows parts of that region are now under severe drought, stretching from Los Angeles down to San Diego. And really, we are keeping a very close eye on this situation across the West Coast, because although Oregon is not in the red right now, this really kind of makes us think about what if it happened to us here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I know so many people here think about 2020. Well, we definitely were in the red, over the Labor Day fires. And obviously, a lot of our firefighters volunteering, going down there to help, as so many of their firefighters came up here.
Returning the favor.
Right, exactly. All right, thanks, Josh.